Okay. Yeah. Is it visible? Can you see the slide changing? Hold on a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, IoT, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity to talk on the very essential topic on research methodology, data collection especially, that is sampling. So many people who are really interested to conduct research, they have vague ideas about what kind of various tools and techniques we can use for the data collection, and primarily what is data collection altogether. So let us first understand few basic terminologies which come under research methodology first, which are then connected to data collection, and then various techniques under that, especially focusing on sampling. So research itself is a very systematic outlook towards investigating a problem in order to find a solution. That is how a research study is conducted. While doing this study, you have to collect certain data. So under the data also, the data can be divided under the primary data and the secondary data. It depends on what kind of topic you have chosen. So you might be doing research as a postgraduate student or undergraduate student, or you might be doing research as some research scholar for MPhil, or MPhil is no more in existence. So let's say for some degrees like PhD, right? So you have to collect data for your certain work of your choice. So this data again can be divided into several types. So major two types are qualitative data and quantitative data. It again depends on what kind of methodology you have chosen for your investigation or for your research altogether. So let's say if you have chosen the quantitative method of study for your research, then you have to deal in numbers. And especially sampling comes under the quantitative data collection methodology. Okay. Another type of methodology for the research is qualitative study. Under the qualitative study, you have to base or rely more on the not the numbers, but the discourses, larger discourses, such as larger answers, texts, or pieces of some literature, and so on. So in this way, your data collection tools or techniques changes according to your type of study. Now here, once again, to introduce with, research methodology is a systematic approach to conduct research to ensure that the research results are valid, reliable, and meaningful, right? So definitely, whenever we call it as a research, there should be some contribution. The contribution for the existing stream of knowledge. So you can investigate a new problem at hand, or you can re-investigate which has already been done, but the solutions are not found out, right? For example, let's say uh, coronavirus. Okay, the COVID vaccine is sort of a protection shield for time being, that we all know. But we have not come out with any kind of vaccination which can prohibit the or eliminate completely the coronavirus altogether from the world, right? So there is still a scope, there is still a space which is untouched in the area of research. So in this way, these kind of areas you can reinvestigate. Studies has been done on this area, especially since 2021, since the first outbreak itself. But whatever has happened so far has not given us the permanent solution yet. So you can reinvestigate on that. So now there are two kind of perspectives in this. So sampling is one of the tool in the research methodology which helps in drawing conclusions from a subset of the population instead of studying the entire population. Okay, sampling is a technique or a tool of data collection in the selective research study. So let's say we have to now investigate how much is the population, okay, which has not taken COVID vaccination at all. Okay, COVID vaccination government has made compulsory. But do you know that there is a particular strata of the population which has not gone for any of the vaccination so far? So if you want to investigate this kind of thing, then you have to target certain age group or certain type of public. So you have to collect the data from people. Have you taken the vaccination? Yes or no, in this form. So when you get yes or no answers, you'll get numbers. 50% says yes, 50% says no. So these are numericals in which we deal. Okay, but now the basic, very basic thing, and then why sampling is so important. Now, if you want to investigate how many people in India has not gone for vaccination, let's say, or which strata of the society which has not gone for the vaccination at all, you are not able to cover the whole million of the population of India, right? Then what will you do is you will go for the sampling technique. Under the sampling technique, you don't have to, though you are targeting the whole public, you don't have to go to each and every person to collect the data. You can take some people as the representatives, and then you can investigate on them. And then whatever results you get at your hand, you can draw some conclusion. For example, you can target certain age groups, like 18 plus were allowed to take vaccination, let's say, not for the children, it was allowed, right? So you can target the chunks of students from the college or people living nearby, or you can even take some data from the hospitals. That will be the easiest way for getting the exact numbers and the valid data. So let's say you have collected data from all the vaccination centers in Pune, let's say. Okay, in order to understand which was the strata of the population who has not gone for the vaccination. Okay, and then when you will investigate or study, start scrutinizing that data, you will start finding out what is the more number of people, okay, in which age group exactly has gone for vaccination, and which are the less number of age groups which has not gone for the vaccination, right? And then you will start understanding that the aged people, many aged people above 60 or something, they have avoided taking vaccination at all due to several reasons, such as diabetic people or aged people who may had certain diseases or medical complications which was not for the situations of the corona vaccination, let's say COVID vaccinations, right? So in this way you can identify certain data. Now this is what is called sampling. Here I have not gone to each and every individual there, because let's say there are some 10 lakh people who have taken vaccination in Pune, let's say. What I'll be doing, I'll better target hospitals and I'll get the chunks from the several major hospitals in Pune. And then I'll try to understand the amount of public according to the age group who have gone for the vaccine. Now, this is what I have done a sampling. To understand it further, we'll study this in detail. So you'll get to know what I am saying. So sampling is the process of selecting a subset of the individuals or the unit of the larger population to represent the whole world. Now, a very basic thing. Whenever we get any vaccinations, are those vaccinations not tried and tested? Definitely. They are tried and tested before they come in the market. So whom they try and test on? They try test on selected animals in the laboratories, right? Such as rabbits or rodents or some other animals, let's say, which do have kind of same immune system of human beings. And then if some people volunteer, then they try and test on them, only on few number of people, right? Not on the people as a trial. Otherwise, it will be a heroic, right? So what do? They do sampling here by injecting those drugs on the crowd of, let's say, 500 from different age groups. They will understand how is the reaction of different, according to different age group, how is the reaction of that vaccination. If your body is reacting to it, is it helping us to prohibit the coronavirus? Is it helping us to beat that disease, or can we eliminate it out? So all kind of results are possible only through this study of this particular sample that they have chosen. So these samples may have healthy people, some unhealthy people, some people with some medical complications, in order to understand what happens to them if we inject that vaccination. Then do they die, or do they react in a very different way? Are they allergic to it? Or what should be the age group, which should, how they decided that it should be 18 plus or something? Why not to children? Because in the initial phase, I'm saying, later on the age group was minimized because it was not much compatible to the young bodies or the weaker bodies which children do have, or the aged people do have, or multi medical complication people do have. They do have weaker immune system, weaker bodies, and the vaccination was reacting in a very bad way. How did they come to understand that? Because they did the sample study. Understand, those people were the samples chosen. So the kind of conclusion they arrived at could be experimented or applied on the whole large population. You don't have to go and target all those million people in India, vaccinate, and then understand the situation and then read the or draw the conclusion. It will be very insane, isn't that? Because if you do in that way, half of the people will die and nobody will be open for taking any kind of vaccination, because these vaccinations are not tried and tested. So sampling is a kind of trying and testing first in order to arrive at the proper conclusion. If you do a proper sampling, if you do a proper experiment on the chosen sample, then your conclusions are mostly accurate. And that's why sampling is highly necessary. Why sampling is important? It is very practical to go for the sample because it saves your time. So, studying entire population is very time consuming, expensive, and very impractical, because you cannot reach each and every individual. It's impossible because we are a country with a large mass of population, right? So it's always better to have a sample. Then precision. Proper sampling can lead to accurate and generalization results, such as happened in the COVID case, right? So proper sampling has been done, proper testing has been done on people across or animals in the laboratories. And only then we have come out with the decision making by the government to making the vaccination compulsory overall India, and might be in other countries also, right? How we can take such decisions? Because we go for the proper sampling. So this is sampling is a very, very important technique in any kind of study, which includes a generalized conclusion to be applied to the large population. Okay, so it's always better to have a practical approach, to choose your sample wisely and implement your study on the sort of conducive environment, in the conducive environment to the limited crowd that has been chosen. So your study will be very focused, accurate, at the same time inexpensive, and it can be finished within the given time frame for your study. So there are two major types of sampling. Okay, one is probability and other is non-probability. Before we go ahead to that, let's first understand some key terminologies under the sampling. Okay, so because we are going to refer to this more often when we will be going ahead with our further discussions. So first key term that comes under sampling study is population. Okay, so population is the entire group of individuals or unit which is of your interest of your study, which you have targeted. For example, the kind of folk, if you are studying the folklore or some other kind of studies, then, or you might be targeting the Adivasi people in India. Okay, how is their condition? Have they progressed so far? What are their living conditions? Are they living in healthy conditions? So you can focus only one aspect. Okay, to narrow down your study, only then you can have a focus study. Okay, so that one aspect is sort of, let's say you are studying on the health conditions of the Adivasi people. So now you have to first understand that what are the areas, which are the areas in India, let's say, where Adivasi people do reside. Then you can identify and target only certain tribes, tribal people, which are close by. Let's say some in Maharashtra, some in some other state, some in some, let's say, Madhya Pradesh or Jharkhand or something, which is in your capacity where you can go, which are accessible, and you can study. If, let's say, there are some 100 tribes in India, you can't end up studying all those 100 tribes because some are not accessible, some are very remote. Okay, some do have some complications kind of things, or else you are a student or just a research scholar who can't afford so much, right? So you can go ahead with some kind of rather alternative methodologies, like finding out data, getting data from the health ministry or some other portals, government portals, where this kind of data has been fed about the health conditions of these people. At the same time, you can even collect the reports of the studies conducted by some previous scholars or some, let's say, NGOs or something. And then you can target some 10 groups, okay, from different states, or might be some 2 3 states in India. And then you can go have one-on-one study with those tribes, whoever is available there, and whatever conclusion you will be arriving at will be similar and applicable mostly to all the tribes there. So what is your entire group of target? Your entire group of target are the tribal people in India, then all those 100 tribes. Understand? But what would be your sample? The subset of the population selected for the study. Sample will be all those 10 tribes which are accessible to you, which are possible for you to go and do the field study there with them. Okay. For example, few tribes from Maharashtra, let's say some 3 4 tribes in Gadchiroli and some other states, or Jharkhand or Madhya Pradesh or Gujarat, let's say, or Rajasthan. These are some, nearby states where you can go and do the study with them, right? So these are certain kind of samples, those you will be choosing for your study. Okay, so this is what is called as sampling. Sampling is targeting only selected group of people who will be in your capacity in order to arrive at the proper conclusions which would be applicable to your target group then. Your target group is the entire tribal people in India. But what would be your sample? Those 10 tribes which you have chosen here for the study. And sampling frame. What is sampling frame? A list of all elements in the population from which the sample will be drawn. So to understand the health condition, you will better focus, or you will better make different stratas like children. So might be from 0 to 14. Okay. Then adults might be from 15 to let's say 40, and then or let's say 50, and then aged people. So 15, 50 to whatever sample you may get, like 90, 100 or something, age I'm talking about. Then you can even bifurcate it on the basis of the genders, male, female separate. So if you are again targeting in the female, then child female, okay, subject of your study, thereafter young adult female, and then mothers, lactating mothers or pregnant women. Their health conditions do really matter. If they are unhealthy, they are going to produce an unhealthy progeny then, right? So you might only target health conditions of the women or pregnant or lactating mothers in tribal groups. You can only focus that, and that will be your kind of target population. Okay, who would be target population here? Only pregnant ladies or lactating mothers in the tribal areas. So you won't be studying any other age group or any other gender also there. Okay, no male or no young children, though it's female or something, you won't be studying that. So it's your different kind of study. So according to this, your sampling frame is decided. So you have to first understand what is your title of the study and what's the demand of your topic. According to the demand of your topic, your sample gets decided. So if you could see on in these pictures, on the leftmost side, there is a population shown, right? and this population is mix of all genders, all age groups and all, then you have to segregate it out for your study. Like age, according to age, I said these 3 or 4 groups. According to genders, 2 groups. Again, under female, according to that particular female gender. Again, age wise, because age wise they are undergoing different conditions, right? So you can undergo that kind of study, and then you will start getting your different results altogether. So in this way your study happens. Now let's go ahead with understanding various types of sampling methods. So first of all, first method that comes is probability sampling. So again, as I told you, depends on the type of your study, the kind of topic that you have chosen. You have to choose a sampling technique altogether. So in probability sampling, every individual or unit has a no chance of being selected. So anybody can get selected. You never know who will be selected or who will not. So there is no kind of fixed conclusion that this person will not get selected or something. Everybody has a win-win opportunity. So what is this, right? Let us understand. So there are certain types of probability sampling. So first and foremost that comes is simple random sampling. So simple random sampling, in which every individual has an equal chance of being selected. For example, let's say you have some lottery. Okay, you had to announce some lottery. What you do a fishboard, a kind of bowl you take, everybody's name is written on a chit, and you put all those chits there. And then you take one chit out. You never know whose name will be there. At the same time, everybody has the equal opportunity to get the chance. So this is what is called simple random sampling. Now in simple random sampling, let's say for your study, you have chosen some 100 people, and then you won't be studying all those 100. So in order to just check, okay, the IQ level of some students, random students in your class, you have chosen some 100 students from 2 classes, let's say. And then how will you be judging their IQs? You might be asking some question to them, or might be checking their results, whatever score they have secured so far in the semester 1. So you may call first student. Okay, then you may call some fourth one. Then you may call seventh. You may call 11th. So there is nothing fixed that you will be calling only these numbers or something. Random numbers you are calling here in order to just cross check. And then after 11th, you may call immediately 12th also. Okay, so in this way, you are doing some simple random sampling in order to get an understanding about how is the overall IQ of students in my class, or what is their average range of study. Are they slow learners or are they fast learners? According to that, I might be doing a simple random sampling here. Thereafter goes is a systematic sampling. Now, as shown in the second picture, systematic sampling does have a fixed number, which you will be choosing for your study. For example, every 10 students from the row, let's say there are 100 students, and you have to just check the same thing, like how is their study ratio. So what you will be doing is you will be choosing every fourth student from the row. So first student, then fourth, then eighth, then 12th, right? Then 16th. You will go in the multiplying of the fourth then. If you are choosing fifth, then fifth, 10th, 15th, 20th, then 25th, 30th, and so on. So in this way, you will reach to the 100. And you will call only those numbers, names of the students who are there on those numbers. And then you will take their results and then try to analyze. So this is what is called as systematic sampling. So numbers are fixed, and according to that, you choose your sample. You don't do random like we have done in the first, like 10th, then there should be 15th. If you are going in the range of 5, it should not be 10 and then immediately 11 or 12. That will become random. Okay. Then comes the stratified sampling. The population is divided into subgroups or stratas. Random samples are taken from each stratum, dividing students by groups or randomly selecting from each group. So what you do, first of all, you divide them into different strata. For example, according to genders. First you divide male, female. Under, again what you do, subdivide, substrata. Like male, then 0 to 14. Female also 0 to 14. Okay, then 14 to 40, 40 or 50, let's say. That is young adults. And then 50 and above. So in this way, you again will be making three groups. So 3 groups in male, 3 groups in female strata. So in this way, you will be doing groups first, stratas first. And then in those stratas, you won't be studying each and every individual there. There are again 100 in number, let's say. You don't have time to go for. Then what will you be doing? You will immediately start taking some random number. So let's say from the age 0 to 14, you may call, because let's say young children may have some good health, let's say, because they are very young. This what you might have identified at your first pilot study or basic discussion. Then you will be calling just random children like third, then seventh, then eighth, then 12th, then 15th, something like that. You will choose children from that group. And same with the female, and then you will start studying those samples. So this is what is called stratified. So in stratified sampling, you have to first make groups according to the stratas. Now stratas can be based on religion, caste, gender, creed. It depends on what kind of study you have chosen. If you are studying for certain disease, then it will be dependent on high level, middle level, low level, just a beginner in that disease, something like that. So that will be the strata for that. So the strata decision making will be done based on your title of the study. Okay, what you have chosen for study. Then goes this cluster sampling. Now, what happens in cluster sampling? The population is divided into clusters, often geographically, and some clusters are randomly selected. Then data is collected from all members of the selected cluster. For example, randomly selected certain schools in a district, then serving all students in those schools. So let's say a government has come out with understanding the situations of ZP schools in Maharashtra, okay, or ZP schools in Tamil Nadu. So what is the condition of the government schools, regional medium government schools? This is what they have decided. So what would be they doing? They will identify first all the schools, government schools in Tamil Nadu. So let's say there are many schools. So they identify there are some 100 schools which are still not dying. Okay, this is very bad, but sad reality that they're still alive. And then what they will be doing, they will make them according to cluster. For example, some western region, eastern region, northern Tamil, southern Tamil Nadu. In this way, they will divide those schools into the clusters, or might be according to districts. Then they will select one particular district which might have little poor kind of facilities. For example, in Maharashtra, let's say Gadchiroli, this is little underdeveloped. Lot of tribal people or live this side. So the progress is not much happened. Rural area is on a large scale. So there are multiple reasons behind that. A lot of political and non-political reasons. That's a different talk altogether. But let's say if certain region is chosen where growth has not happened much, or students have a lot of difficulties in reaching to the schools because they are traveling from mountains, roads are not made, there are floods and lot of things. I mean, nowadays believing this is very difficult for us because we all are living in very better conditions, and we are seeing around our better condition even in the villages. But there are some areas which are very underdeveloped, very underdeveloped. So let's say they have chosen then one particular district, that is, let's say Gadchiroli. Okay. And then in that Gadchiroli, they will identify one particular school as a pilot or some sample for their study. They will go there, visit that particular school, and then they will study all the students. Okay. Or they will identify one particular village which has 2-3 schools together, and they will visit all those 3 schools. This is what is cluster sampling. So whatever they will conclude after studying all 3 schools, the same conclusion will be applicable as a result to other 100 remaining 97 schools which are in their list of 100 government schools, and they will conclude what is the condition of those schools. So they have chosen the worst sample. So what would happen worst will be applicable to other schools also. Might be they are in better condition, but we'll try to figure out that children are not meeting, it's not possible for them to reach to the school. It's very difficult, or enough equipments are not there, no computers, no electricity, schools are not, the rooms are not properly ventilated, only one teacher or two teachers or no teachers, something like that. Then government identify this problem and then try to resolve this out by providing proper facilities or giving fundings, or asking some NGOs to run it, or calling for the giving tender outside. So same will be applicable to all other government schools in order to make them survive. That might be their agenda. So this is what is cluster sampling. Okay, I hope you have understood at least basic so far. We will be doing some question answers, so it will be easy for you to go ahead with whatever we have done. So there are some advantages of probability sampling. That probability sampling ensures representatives. So it is limited in your budget, in your time frame. So you can, within a small time frame, whatever you have, you can finish your study definitely. If you choose the right sample and the right methodology of research sampling, then you definitely arrive at the proper conclusions. Okay. It also allows us generalizations to the population. Whatever you have concluded for the 3 government schools will be applicable to all those 97 which you have practically not studied in the cluster sampling, right? But you will be giving them kind of facilities also. Okay. It also helps us to reduce biases, because you are randomly doing it in random sampling. You have not decided only these people I will choose. They are very close to me. Okay. That option is not available. You have to either go systematically, okay, or you have to do random sampling. So in this way, your probability sampling helps you out to achieve the kind of correct conclusions for your study. Okay, here we have some situations, and I would like all of you to help me answer. Okay, you can unmute yourself or write in the chat box. Jaya ma'am, I don't have access because I have opened my screen here. So I would like you to help me out reading the answers. Okay, so here is first situation. A researcher is conducting a study on the average income of the household in a small town. The researcher has a list of all 1,000 households in the town and randomly selects 100 households to participate in the survey. Because studying all those 1,000 is not possible due to the time frame, and it is very exhausting also. So the person, the researcher, wants to select only any 100. So which kind of sampling technique the researcher should use? What do you think? Please answer in the chat box or unmute. First situation. Which sampling technique do you think? It should be systematic sampling or random sampling that will help? Okay, I'll help with the answer. So we go for the simple random sampling. Why? The researcher uses simple random sampling where every household in the population has the equal opportunity. It should not be like 100, no? Then first 100. It's easy for me to access. Then what about those 900 which are in the remote side of the city or the village? Then that won't be the proper study. You won't be then covering the whole area. So when you will be doing the study, selecting only 100, then you have to select from random areas till the last end of that village or the city. Only then you will be able to arrive at the proper conclusion. Now we move ahead with the situation 2. A researcher wants to study the satisfaction levels of the employees in the large company with 500 employees. The researcher decides to select every 5th employee on the company's employee roster to complete a satisfaction survey. What do we call to this kind of sampling? Every fifth, then 10th, then 15th, then 20th. What do you call it?
Systematic sampling.
Correct. So we call it systematic sampling because we have a system fix here. So we have a fixed interval. Every fifth employee will be participating in the survey. Then comes situation 3. A researcher is studying the academic performance of students at the university. Okay, academic performance of students at the university. The researcher divides the students into groups based on the years of their study. Fresh, first years, sophomores, juniors, seniors. Okay, first years, second years, third years, fourth year student. Okay, and randomly then selects any 50 from each group. So the student researcher has made different stratas here, right? What do we call it then?
Stratified sampling.
Very good. So we do have stratified random sampling here. So we first make the strata, subgroups of the population, and then from the subgroups, we take again random samples. So we can have a proper conclusions. Now we have situation 4. A researcher is conducting a nationwide survey on healthcare access among rural population. Instead of serving individual directly, the researcher divides the country into 10 regions or clusters and randomly selects any 3 regions to survey. Then every household within the selected regions is surveyed. So let's say there are whatever states here in India, 10 clusters are made. Okay, like southern east, southern west, okay, middle east, and so on. Pardon? Okay, correct. So we do have cluster sampling here. Okay, now we have made a cluster first, and then we selected one particular cluster, and then under that cluster, we study the whole population. Here we are not selecting only 100 or only 50. We are studying the whole population. Okay, because this is very cost effective and for the large and spread out population and achievable in the capacity of your research. And the results or the conclusion are accurate then. Now we have fifth situation. Okay. A researcher is studying voter preference in a large country such as India with a diverse population. India has a diverse population. The researcher first divides the country into states, which already we have, then randomly selects any 5 states. Then within those states, randomly selects 3 districts and finally selects individual randomly within the district to survey. What's the answer? Understand? The researcher has chosen India. Then India divided population according to states. Under states, selected only 5 states. Okay, might be one from, just say Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, then Assam, somewhere in near in southern side in Kanyakumari or something that side. And then another 3 districts are selected. And then finally, surveys the whole population. What's the answer? Little confusing, okay? Now, this is what is the answer. So, sorry. Sometimes you have to use the multi-stage sampling. Multi-stage sampling means a mixed approach of various sampling. Some studies are little larger in context, not much narrowed down because they are interrelated to multiple stratas. So in that way, you have to choose some different sampling styles together. So the researcher uses multi-stage sampling, which combines several sampling methods like cluster sampling because clusters are made, right? And then random sampling. So clusters are made according to states and districts. Then clusters are chosen, and then under that particular chosen cluster, 3 districts, let's say, the person again selects the individuals. Here, not said studies every individual, not whole population study here. Again, the selecting, random sampling has happened. Okay, because this is a very wide topic of the study, voter preference in India. because India is a huge country with multi-states, multi-population with different stratas all. Okay, to make it feasible or according to divide it according to geography and applicable results, it has to be, the researcher has to choose multiple sampling techniques altogether. Okay. Now we go ahead with understanding of other side of the coin, that is non-probability sampling. Whatever we have seen so far is probability sampling. Okay. Now in the probability sampling, almost every individual has opportunity to get selected as a sample. Okay, because that person does not know, even we don't know whom we are selecting, because we have some system set, either random or systematic or according to cluster. Whatever we have chosen, we study the whole crowd, right? But in non-probability sampling, it does not happen like that. Not every individual has a known or equal chance of being selected. For example, out of 1,000, I'll better study only first 100. But in probability sampling, when I have to study 100, I have to either choose first, fifth, 10th, and so on, or I have to choose randomly, like first, fifth, 50th, then 57, some 69, and so on. And then I have to cover 100 until I reach to the 1,000 households, right? So that is what is a benefit of a probability sampling. But sometimes, due to the limitation of time, budget, or the study frame, you are not able to go for the probability sampling. In that case, some studies may require non-probability sampling. Now let us understand some types of non-probability. Convenience sampling. Now, convenience sampling is you better choose your convenience first, selecting individuals who are easiest for you to access. For example, you are studying people who are easily accessible, like students in your class. So let's say if you have to study what are the reading habits of students these days, the Gen Z, and you are an undergraduate teacher, which will be the easiest sample for you to access? Your own class. So what will you be doing? You will take the questionnaire and give it to the students in your class. Once they fill it out, you will get enough answer. If let's say there are 100 students in your class, then that is enough enough sample size. So whatever answers you will get, that will be the representative of the talk of the Gen Z, that how are their reading habits. So this is what is convenience sampling. You choose the sample which is easiest for you to access, the first one, the nearest one. Okay. Then judgmental or purposive sampling. The researcher selects individual based on specific characteristics or judgment. So there is intention behind selecting certain group of people. For example, selecting experts in the field of interviews. Let's say if you have been asked to find out some people, let's say in our FDP or conferences also, we have to give it on research methodology. So just check out, we need 10 people who would be good speakers, who are knowledgeable and experts in that field, and who would be ready to contribute for in our conference. Okay, so we want them as a guest, or we'll take their interviews about understanding what are the current trends in it. What will you be doing? You will be doing purposive sampling. Intentionally, you will choose only those people because you know them, you know their expertise, you know that they have certain background, expertise, understanding about this topic. So whatever answers I'll get in the interview I have taken from them, it will be easy for me to lead to the accurate conclusions, because their study is going to talk about a wide population, because they have spent several years of their life in getting expertise in that particular field. Okay, so this is purposive sampling. So in purposive sampling, you have to very carefully choose your sample. You have to very intentionally target your sample. Then is snowball sampling. Now this is something tricky. Initial participants refer other participants, and this process continues in a chain. So this sampling happens actually in a chain format. So conducting a study on the hard to reach population. For example, individual with the rare disease. So what you do, as shown in the picture in the probability sampling, this gray one is you, a researcher. You choose 2 people, okay, from 2 different clusters altogether, or stratas, and then from those stratas you reach to the substratas of that group, and then from that strata to that substrata. So in this way you do the snowball sampling. So in a simple way, let's say for example, you have targeted the health conditions of the tribal people, okay, and then you have chosen 3 states: Maharashtra, Jharkhand, and let's say Tamil Nadu. And then in these 3 states, you identify those tribal areas, and then you reach to one cluster, let's say in Gadchiroli, and you start studying there. Then you make the stratas according to age group and gender. And then while studying them, you start studying female, and then you start identifying there are a lot of issues with the mothers first, okay, because they are not provided good food, or they are might be addictive, okay, they are taking tobacco or smoking or something, and that is affecting their baby, or might be lactating mothers are also addictive, because might be they are using drugs or something like that, and that may affect on the children or their youngsters or something. And then you identify that. So you started with the cluster in order to study the whole group. You started studying some male, some female. While studying female, you again reach to female with certain age group, that is mothers. Under mothers again, you will be studying lactating mothers and pregnant women. So in this way, your chain is, you are leading in a chain here. This is what is snowball sampling. Then is quota sampling. So participants are selected based on the specific characteristics until a predefined quota is reached. Understand, for any kind of study, you need enough sample. You cannot say, I'll just study 15 students and I'll reach to the conclusion. It never happens. You always have to choose a very good amount of sample to conclude any kind of study. And sampling is very much required in research, especially if you want to publish your papers in Scopus. They better prefer those kind of studies which has undergone the sampling methodology, research methodology, because these samples are representative of larger application results altogether. So in quota sampling, what you do, let's say your target is 1,000 or 100, let's say, to minimize, and then you have reached only 50 students. Then what happens? Another 50 are lacking. So then if your class is not enough, you will go in your colleague's class, and you will again uh, circulate your questionnaire and do the survey for understanding the reading habits of Gen Z. Let's say they are only 40. You need another 10. Then what would you do? You will go in other colleagues' class, and then you will go for selective 10 students. And then you will go for your completion of the 100 quota. So ensuring a survey that includes a specific number of female and male. So let's say your target is 50 female and 50 male, and in your class you have only 20 female. So you need another 30. So might be you will be doing from some multiple classrooms. So this is what is quota sampling. So you have a target, a quota to be completed. So there are some advantages of non-probability sampling, that it is very simpler and very faster, because easiest access is a preference. It is very cost effective, useful when probability sampling is not feasible. It is quick and easiest, reachable, achievable. So in this way, you do the quota sampling then. Now, once again, we are coming back to the questions for non-probability sampling here. And quick answers, please, because we have to go for some more discussions. Okay, now first situation, a researcher is conducting a study on student stress level at the university. A research is limited by time and budget, and decided to survey the first 100 students they came across on campus during lunch hour. Any first student, 100 students. So they are not targeting any 5th, 10th, or 11th, or I'll choose 1,000 and then I'll do random sampling of 100 students. What kind of sampling, non-probability sampling technique should we use here?
Convenient sampling.
Very good.
Convenience sampling.
Perfect. So we are using convenience sampling here because they are selecting participants who are easiest to access. So easy access, convenience, my convenience, as per the word suggest. Okay. Second situation. A researcher is studying the experiences of nurses working in intensive care units, ICUs, during the COVID-19 pandemic. The researcher decides to focus on experienced ICU nurses who have worked during the peak of the pandemic. Now, please understand, here the researcher is not targeting all the nurses who are available. He or she is targeting only the nurses who have worked in ICU and who are well experienced and who have worked only during the COVID-19 pandemic. So within those 2-3 years of the frame period. So what should be the method? Method of sampling?
Judgmental sampling.
Correct. Because your judgment is already done. You have to be intentional while choosing your samples, right? So here you are pre-deciding whom you will be targeting, right? So with a judgment or with the intention, you are choosing your sample. Only then you will be reaching to the correct study. If you interview or study some random nurse, she won't be able to contribute any contribution to your study of the COVID-19 pandemic because you are targeting to understand the experiences of the nurses who worked in ICU during the pandemic, right? So that has to be sufficed. Third situation, a researcher is studying the lives of individuals who have recovered from addiction in a small, close-knit community. Okay, what the researcher is doing? Individuals who have recovered from the addiction in a small and close-knit community. Initially, the researcher interviews one person who then refers the researcher to others who have also gone through the recovery process. Might be the subject one was taking treatment in some recovery center and have befriended another 10 people who were also addicted and were also getting treated. So this person, number one, subject A, gives the contact numbers of another 9 or 10 people whom I will be going and interviewing. They might give contact number of their friends, okay, who were also addicted and might have undergone the treatment and recovered. So in this way, what I am doing here, I'm leading through a chain. So what kind of sampling here?
Snowball sampling.
Very well said. So snowball sampling. Now I hope you have understood snowball sampling because it's a little tricky to understand. So you are leading in a chain. From one, you started somewhere, you are leading then from somewhere to somewhere. So there is no fixed direction actually, but you are leading to the correct samples altogether. Okay. Because this is a very hard to reach population. It's not easy. You can't randomly, talk with some 100 students in the classroom and you will find those who are addicted and were addicted and has recovered. Because these are the rare samples to find out, or people won't like much to open on such topics, right? Okay. The fourth situation, a researcher is studying political views in a diversity. They set quotas to ensure that their sample includes equal numbers of young adults, middle-aged individuals, and older adults, as well as a balanced representation of men and women. So we need different stratas here first. What kind of non-probability sampling technique? Quota sampling, because we have decided a quota there first. Okay, that we need equal numbers. Equal number is the quota. Equal number of young adults, middle-aged, older, and then 50-50%. 50% men, 50% women. So this is what is quota. Unless and until I reach to my quota, I have to keep studying. I have to keep investigating. Okay. Now the fifth situation, as we did before, will be a mixture of it because sometimes we have to use the mixed methodologies. A researcher is investigating best practices for cybersecurity in a large organization. The researcher selected a group of leading experts in the field, including security consultants, cybersecurity officers, and researchers. What kind of sampling is this? Okay, so this is kind of expert sampling, selecting individuals with specific expertise, okay, relevant to the research topic, which helps gather in-depth and authoritative insights. Now, this is more of similar to the judgmental sampling because you have identified the experts from the field altogether. Okay, so you can either record, but it is situation specific. Okay, so this is called as judgmental sampling or expert sampling altogether. Okay, now how to determine the sample size or why sample size matters? A large sample generally provides a reliable and accurate estimate of the population. So that's why we have to always target a bigger sample like 100, 500, 1,000 and so on. If you choose only 5, 10 or 15, then you won't be able to lead to the conclusion. For example, to understand the flavor of the reading of Gen Z, if you interview or just give questionnaire to only 10 students or 15 students in your class, that won't be a conclusion because that's not a representative of the population. You have to choose comparatively a large chunk of the audience, like 100 people, and if possible from multiple institutes, not only from your class, or might be from multiple other branches of the study, for example humanities, social sciences, engineering, okay, pharmacy and so on. So then you can have some proper kind of conclusion. Understand very important thing. Even after targeting 100 people, if you are getting varying results, like uh, 30% are saying that we are reading thrillers, 30% equally are saying we are reading mythologies, and another 30% are saying that we are reading motivational, then this is not helping out to lead any conclusion. There can't be a tie in this situation. You need clear cut bifurcation for your conclusions. Then what you have to do is you have to do quota sampling here. So you have to expand your quota and you have to target another 100. From some other groups you have to choose, or might be some other institute. Then only you can start getting some varying results altogether. So in this way, you have to decide your sample according to the topic that you have chosen and kind of results you are arriving at. If your results are not satisfactory, it means there is an error in the sample choice, or might be the sample is not enough. So you have to expand it or you have to change the methodology. Then small sample sizes leads to the margins of the error, as I told you just. Okay, how to determine the sample size? There are some factors which we have to consider. One is the population size. So total number of individuals in the population. So if you are studying for India, then it is too much huge population. If you are studying for Gen Z, that's also huge population. If you are studying only for your institution, then it's a limited population. Then you can target the whole number of students there, right? Then margin of error. How much margin of error is acceptable in the result? If there is a 5% of the difference in the result, that is possible, it's okay. But if it is more than that, then you have to do the reinvestigation. You better have to go for the different sample technique. Thereafter, confidence level, right? The probability, the probability that the sample accurately represents the population. So commonly 95% of the people are there who are into probability sampling. Okay. So you have to just make sure the accuracy ratio has to be more. So it's like 95%. Okay. And the margin of the error should be only 5%. Thereafter is population variability, the diversity or variation in the population. A more diverse population may require a larger sample. Okay. So kind of, let's say, if you have a diverse population with, let's say, religion or gender related things or cluster related things, then what you have to do is you have to make sure that you take more, collect more samples so you can arrive at the proper solutions. Okay. Now, whatever you are seeing in front of you, I'm not the expert of this, but this is what I need to introduce you, that when you collect the samples, this is the generalized formula that we apply to arrive at the proper conclusion, to get the proper results, because we are dealing with the quantitative data here. Okay. So kind of, let's say, this particular formula where n means the required sample size, z score corresponding to the desired confidence level, that what is your estimated accuracy confidence, that 95%, then that would be the score for that, and then you had to multiply it because it's a double of it. Then p is estimated proportion of the population, and then e is margin of the error. Okay, so in this way you have to make sure that whatever data you have collected should be then statistically analyzed. If you are not an expert, then please seek help of some expert, because statistical analysis is highly important, especially if you are going for the Scopus or Web of Science research papers. Then this particular statistical analysis is highly important. Okay. Then sampling bias and errors. So what are various types of biases which are possible in the sampling? Then selection bias. As I told you that sample is not the representative. If the sample is not the representative of the population, you will arrive at the wrong conclusions then. Okay. For example, if you want to do some surveys and you are using only internet survey, then older individuals who do not have access to the internet will not be included in this survey. Then you will be actually sampling only to the young generations who are comfortable with it. Then your conclusions will go wrong. Then non-response bias. This is a very common problem that most of the researchers face, because you target for 100, you send it to 500 people, and they do not respond to it at all, and you hardly get 10 or 15 responses. They are also from your close associate, because you again and again go and tell them, please fill my Google form, please reply me back, and then you get only very very limited and fragile sample, and that will not help you out to give a proper demographic representation. If your sampling has a flaw, for example, if you have chosen a wrong methodology, or your sample results and the true population results are different, then there will be an error. Okay, then how shall we minimize these errors? Randomization. Using random selection to ensure every individual has the equal opportunity. So there should not be any kind of bias that will be involved in it. At the same time, you have to expand your sample size. Ensure representativeness. Make sure that you are taking enough samples from every stratas or clusters you have made, subgroups. So there should be enough representatives. For example, enough female who will be responding, enough male who will be responding. If under them, again, you have age groups, enough age groups who will be responding. So you can arrive at the proper conclusion. So for that, of course, increase the sample size and follow the ethical guidelines. If you follow the ethical guidelines for your research, then definitely there won't be any problem. So practical examples are there. Okay, real world examples and sampling. So for example, medical research, a clinical trial for a new drug. At the beginning itself, I talked about this. May use stratified sampling to ensure that participants represent different age groups, genders, medical conditions, because they are taking a huge risk of applying it to large population in the whole world. If they go wrong, then everything will be wrong altogether, right? And that's why you have to make sure that your stratification has to be very justified. Thereafter, market research. You have to make sure that you are doing a proper market research. Otherwise, with random sampling, if your research is very vague or not enough, then you won't be able to reach to any kind of proper conclusions altogether. Thereafter, interactive exercises. Various scenarios. This is one scenario. Last question to you. A university wants to study a student satisfaction survey. Identify what type of sampling method would be used and why. I need answers from your side. Okay, until you give answer, let me just summarize. Sampling is a crucial part of research methodology. Probability sampling methods offer greater representatives. Okay. Non-probability methods are more accessible and practical. So according to your subject type, you have to choose a sample, and according to the sample requirement, you have to expand your size of the sample. Always make sure that your sample is enough. If it's not enough, you have to expand that quota. If your results are not satisfactory, you can make a combination of different sampling techniques altogether. First of all, understand your topic at the hand and the requirement of it. It will be easy for you to help identify the final sampling size. Thank you so much, and over to you, Jayman.